There it is. There it is. Weird lighting. Hello, beautiful people. If you are interested in the idea of two people that have admittedly made mistakes in life and they've learned from those mistakes, and they're willing to be vulnerable and raw and honest about those mistakes and used those times in their life to propel them forward, stick around. It's going to be a good conversation. Yeah, my friend Rachel Keith is coming on here in a little bit. What's up, Tracy? Hi. So just to kind of give you a recap from the last one, I left my job after 10 years and started up a new business. My business is still in physical therapy. It is called L2E Physical Therapy. So here, boom, so you can see it, L2E Physical Therapy, L2EPT.com. Give you a little promo there, shameless. But in doing that, like, you leave one thing, you jump into another. It's not necessarily, thank you, it's not necessarily immediately uber successful, right? And so what does it feel like to be in that in-between space? Because I feel like a lot of people are really good at telling you about it after the fact, when things worked out or they didn't work out and they learned their lesson. But we don't get to hear a lot of times what happens in the middle of it. So both Rachel and I are in the middle of it right now. Can y'all hear me pretty well? Because I have on my headset today, so I'm hoping, let me know if you can hear me. I think you get a lot of feedback if you don't wear a headset and do these things. So that's the motivation for it. And I think no matter if you're into the Bible, if you are not into the Bible but you're into memoirs, if you're into autobiographies, biographies, documentaries, what we learn from all those things is that it's really important to share your story. There she is. It's really important to share your story. And people identify... Ooh, yeah. Sure, Rach. Sure, I'll go. Let's see if this works. Because I've literally never... Waiting. I don't know how to do this. It worked. Hello!
Hi!
I get to see you.
How are you?
Doing really, really well.
Okay,
Doing
sorry
good.
about that. I didn't know what was going on, if I was supposed to... What was I supposed to
Actually,
do?
no, it's fine. It just said you came up, and then I'm like, well, I don't know how to, and then it said, oh, she requested to join. Okay, perfect. That's easy.
Yeah.
So for future reference, people, it's pretty easy to do this. I was just saying that I feel like, historically speaking, we get all these books that tell us, oh, hindsight, this is how things went, and this is the way I want you to see what I learned from my situation. Whether it be like, I'm going to go Bible on you real early here, Deuteronomy in the Bible, whether it be memoirs, whether it be documentaries, whether it be autobiographies, you name it. It's all these people talking about, this is my story, and I want to tell you my story because I think you'll identify with it. And I think if you identify with it, maybe I can help you feel less alone. Maybe you see yourself a little bit in it. And for us right now, it's like we're both in very weird, what I call like liminal spaces of, we did these things and now what? And I want to put it out there. I want to show people what it looks like in the in-between, which is what I called this today. So that's really my motivation, is instead of being so head down in my business right now and trying to get people in the door, which I'm doing, I also want to keep my head up. I want to look out at the landscape, and I want to say, whoa, I just did this. I just made this jump. Look out, look at the landscape, look around, enjoy the moment. And this is part of me enjoying the moment. So, yeah. So I'm going to start it by letting you kind of introduce yourself and telling a little bit of what your current situation is.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, Before we jump in, I want to take a quick second to cheers you, my friend Jen. We didn't really get together live in person because of all of the things going on. So I like to always celebrate with champagne. And because I don't have to go back to work today,
There you go.
cheers to you, my friend, for making
Thank
your
you, my
leap
love.
and your jump and your business. And I'm so proud of you and excited.
I'm going to use my cup that my former coworkers gave me to cheers myself.
Okay.
Awesome. I dig it.
So, my name is Rachel, for anybody out there that doesn't know who I am. And Jen and I know each other through just our profession and our professional path. So, I, like her, have just been kind of feeling this nudging and calling to just do something different. And it's been a really scary time, but I decided to listen to that like inner voice and inner dialogue. And I quit a really good job in kind of a crazy time and
Just
didn't
a little bit.
know.
Just a little crazy.
We
Like,
ended
no one cannot say that this year. No one
we
can be like, I've had a good year.
right.
No. Like, you're not crushing it.
Well, I mean, when you're overseeing compliance for a really large physical therapy clinic in the middle of a global pandemic, it's kind of a weird time to leave.
I haven't heard you word it like that. When you say it, it's very daunting.
Yeah, sorry
Yeah.
guys.
I love it.
But yeah, so I'm just kind of on my journey right now of the aftermath of just making a decision and not knowing really where I'm going particularly. Like, I'm not opening up my own business. I'm not going into a specific job right now. I'm just giving myself some space to breathe and, how we always say, exhale. Because it's been a pretty crazy decade. I've been practicing for about 11 years and have really had no real maternity leave or sabbatical or anything. I've just been working through and through. And then my vacations have always been very go, 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 go. So
Yup.
this has just been really the first time in my adult life that I am just kind of chilling out with no big plan. So
Wait. You mean that's possible? It's possible to just like stop
yeah, it
life?
is. It is possible. You gotta listen to the dialogue.
Oh, we've had like, we will get on the phone and be like, okay, 15 minutes. Like, we have 15, like 2 hours later, we're talking about God knows what. And so I'm like, okay, some of these conversations we need to like, I think people could benefit from this because we are both in a very, very, what I would consider rare space right now and
It
weird,
is.
weird space. So what does it feel like for you to be in this time?
Different every minute.
It does. It totally
Yeah.
does.
In like a given day, when I wake up in the morning, I can go anywhere from like mild panic, fear, and anxiety to absolute joy to sadness to freak out to WTF am I doing? To I love this,
Yeah.
this is awesome. To I'm waking up in my tent on the beach and I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I'm taking time off.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really been very different from day to day and moment to moment. And I'm a very emotional person deep down inside. And so it's been a very emotional time for me. Just realizing and reflecting on the last 10 years of my life, 11 years of my life, and the time and just myself that I've given to the profession
Hmm.
that I've chosen, and the things I like about that time and the things I don't like about that time. So it's been a very up and down road in that sense of realizing I worked my butt off to continue to enhance my knowledge and my skill set and go to classes and climb the invisible ladder.
Yeah.
Because there's like supposedly something really cool up at the top. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Trying to find the ladder.
Yeah, I don't think it
Where?
exists.
What's it made of? I don't
The imaginary
like
ladder.
bump into it, like go under it. That's apparently really bad luck. Knock it
Uh,
over. I know.
yeah, yeah. So it's been a lot to just kind of take in, and I think some of the you cut me off whenever you want.
No, no, no. I don't want to.
Yeah, some of the sadness for those of you that might just kind of wonder what I'm talking about there is that if you don't know me, you don't know that I have really dedicated multiple hours upon hours upon hours outside of the typical patient care 40-hour week to not only do Con Ed, but be very involved in the community that I was living in. And I did that wherever I went. I've worked in Southern California for the first 5 years, 6 years of my profession, and then moved out to Arizona and worked there. So I gave 150% wherever I was. And in the meantime, now that I sit where I sit, I realize I missed out on my family. I missed out on all my nieces and nephews growing up. They're like the raddest little human beings now that I'm home and I'm visiting family. It's just phenomenal to see how grown up they are and how amazing they are. I've missed out on probably some relationships over the years that just kind of got screwed up because I was always in this hamster wheel of where my time and attention should be. And myself too, like, right? So Glennon Doyle talks a lot about abandoning ourselves. And I really resonate with that term when I think about how I've approached my career in the last 10, 11 years. And it's nobody's fault but my own. And so this is why I think Jen and you and I want to talk about some of this stuff is because these are the things that people aren't talking about. And then you end up really unhappy, really burned out. You don't know why. And then you feel like, I got to keep hammering this out. I got to keep going. I got to keep moving. I got to keep growing. Because that's kind of like the unsaid they are telling us what to do in that sense. So, like it's been a crazy reflection process in that way to realize, wow, I really committed myself to this certain path. And now I'm really fortunate to break, pause, stop, and create a new kind of version of myself. So,
Yeah. I I do not think that is, I know that is not something that's taboo. Like it's almost taboo. Like you don't leave. You don't start a new career. You get this piece of paper that says you can do this thing. You can't not do this thing. Like,
yeah.
So you are one of the first people that it's been such a lighter feeling for me to enter into this space with you where it's like, oh, you can push this door open outside of physical therapy if you want to.
Yeah.
Who's to say you can't? I don't know if people typically think that is okay to do, or I know for you there's been a little of guilt of like, should I? Like,
Yeah,
right?
totally. And just like a sidebar, I don't think it's just our industry. As I've started listening to more podcasts last year, I realized that it's a pretty common theme that you hear of these people in really big scopes of practice that are leaving their industry, medical doctors, lawyers, all kinds of different healthcare professionals. I'm probably missing some things because that's not on the top of my head. But when you said that, it just kind of jolted my brain to these really intense, long years of school, dedication, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and a profession that everyone else that has really paved the way is silently telling you by their actions that you have to keep growing. You have to keep doing. You have to
Yep.
keep learning. And that's not a bad thing, but it can also, depending upon your personality, really chip away at who you are as a person. And you
Hmm.
can end up on a really nasty, scary path if you don't really know what your blind spots are and you don't know what your strengths are. You don't know how to be careful of the things that you're susceptible to in your personality. And so, sidebar.
This whole thing is a sidebar. I should have called this sidebar.
Sidebar version one. I feel like you
Yeah.
asked me a question, but I don't remember what it was.
Well, it was originally, what is the space like for you?
Oh, yes.
This is what happens. This is why I wanted everyone to see this. Because it just
Uh,
trails off when we get squirrely. It's good
well,
though.
I mean, what is this space like for you? Because you, like, I think the difference between you and I is that I'm kind of just like on this like rainbow of I have no idea what direction it's going to turn or where it's going to go, but I know that
Yeah,
there's going to be a pot of gold at the end.
there
Whereas
is.
you, I know, I'm excited. It'll be there.
And Lucky Charms.
Lucky charm.
Yeah.
Um, for you, you've really known like what direction you've wanted to take your career
Hmm.
and you feel very confident about that. And so making this big transition, it's still a big shift and it's still a big transition to make and it's scary. So talk
Yeah.
through what's been going on in your brain and head for the last couple months.
In a word. Ah! I'm just kidding.
Nice.
Uh, um, there has been, and I've told a lot of people this, I feel led into what I'm doing. This is, and you've kind of said this is not a surprise for me. This is a very calculated plan over the last 3 years of my career at minimum, to be in this position. But it is one thing to see it down the road and say, what are the best ways that I can prepare for this right now? What can I do right now today to make future me better? Which is where I've lived for the last 3 years. Versus, oh, it happened. like I've paralleled the whole thing to skydiving. And in the give your notice 4 weeks until you leave, you're still safely, securely working for the company and still needed, and people email you. That is one thing. That is being in the plane, but you're up in the air and you're like, whoa, this is happening. And then there is the like last week you're there, where you're sitting with your feet at the edge and you're about to do the rock off thing if you've gone skydiving. Have you gone skydiving?
No, I didn't want to.
Oh, okay. I can't remember if I asked you that. So you do like a rock thing, and then you just basically fall out of the plane, because what's going to happen is you're going to fall out and under it. So you have to like basically kind of curl and then open up. And so last week I'm in the plane, but my feet are dangling. Like, it's coming. It's really exciting, but I'm still safely in the plane, but it's coming. And then at some point after you fall, you open up and you look around, which is what I'm talking about today, and you're like, oh, holy crap, look at this. This is insane. This is amazing. You're on this high, right? And then there's a between moment. Between just went out of the plane and, oh my gosh, I'm looking around at everything, where you go, huh, oh my God. Like, it's the, pardon my French, oh shit moment of, this better work, this parachute better open up, this whole plan that I made, it better work out, because I just fell out of a plane. Like, I went through that and have been going through that moment for the last, 3 weeks to a month. And every day is a little bit different. And part of it is keep your head down. What is the best way to educate people about what I do, what my gifts are? how is this different than any typical outpatient clinic? Part of it is that. And part of it is enjoy this space, because this space is going to be short term. It is going to lead you to where you want to go. And there's a combo of a complete fear and worry and a complete resolute calm. And it really depends on the moment, just like you said.
Right.
But the moments that I feel more anxious, I have learned strategies to help myself with that. That is typically what I'm going to feel if I'm going to feel negative things. It presents itself in anxiety for me, which a lot of people know because I've been very open about that. And so constantly having this meter, where are you at? How you doing? What can you do? What do you do to bring yourself back in moments? Because if you go to the core of it, you know why you did this. You did this for a purpose. You're here for a purpose. Doing what you know you need to do. That will never change. That is the calm. So how do I bring myself from the buzziness down to the calm when I need to, over and over and over again? That's where I'm at. And today I'm in the calm, man. I'm chilling in the calm.
So what do you do in the calm? What's like your favorite activities in a day that feels calm?
I love, I am a regimented person, and I learned, I don't really think I can answer this without giving my story. I learned the hard way how I learned myself the hard way. I will say that. I didn't know, I can say this now, I did not know who I was. I confused my person with my profession. And I was a physical therapist. I was successful. I was a mentor. I liked applied functional science. Like, that was who I was. That is fine. That is not who you are. And that will get you so far. And it did. It got me, I achieved. And then it came to a point where literally there was nothing else for me to achieve in the moment. And out of nowhere, I got the worst anxiety that I'd ever had. Because up until then, my anxiety had presented itself as, you feel your stomach hurts a little bit, or you're jittery, or you're just constantly self-talking about, oh, what if? It's okay, just work out, just, keep going, go to the class, read something, watch TV, distract yourself, blah, 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 blah. That's how it presented itself. And then it turned on a dime. 2017. Debilitating. I ended up in the emergency room. And it was a very visceral experience, pun intended, because that's what I do now. It's a very, very visceral experience of, I lost everything about myself. I could not feel my arms. I did not know where I was at. I could not think. People would ask me questions I did not know the answer to. I could not see any steps ahead. I was stuck. I was freaking out in the stuck. And I ended up in the ER, and they give you the same thing that they give everyone when you end up in the ER. You get the GI cocktail because having anxiety messes with your gut. And they know that, so they're going to give you that to calm down your gut. They do the typical chest x-ray. They do the EKG, make sure it's not actually something cardiac or something more, And by doing that, yes, that's thorough to do, but it's also, oh, this isn't as important. It's just anxiety. Hate that. And I could go off on that forever because I think that it is often more important. It is the precursor to what they're checking for in the moment. And when all of that is negative, what they do is they lay you down, they strap you down, they tell you to be calm, good luck, because you can't feel your arms and everything's tingling and your heart rate's like 130, resting. if you could call it resting, and shoot you full of Ativan. And that makes you a zombie. And it's great to calm you in the moment. But if you think like I do, how did I get here in the first place? And is this going to come back? Because I can't function like this. So, hindsight, as I was going through that experience, there was also the me beneath the me that was freaking out. There's always the me, and then there's the underneath that's like assessing the situation. And I've become very, like, I will get to this thing. The me beneath the freaking out me was assessing what was going on. And I will tell you, the second that I started filling out the paperwork, the second someone said, "What are you here for?" The second someone started to take my blood pressure and my vitals, that equated to you're being observed, you're being paid attention to, you're being validated in the moment. And guess what happened? Felt better. I already started to calm down, which gave me an inkling to, like, wait a second, there's something to this thing. There is some way that we can save money in this thing. We can save people in this thing. And I'm going to figure this out. That was observation number one. Observation number two for me personally was people are asking you, honey, what's going on? Are you stressed? Like, what's going on in your life? Are you really, really stressed? Tell us about it. And I could not tell you anything. I had no clue. No, I'm fine. My life is fine. I have nothing. There's nothing wrong. I have nothing wrong. What I was saying was actually the truth. I have nothing. I have nothing. And that is the daunting start of all of that. Was you have no foundation. You really don't know who you are. You've confused your profession with your person, and now it's time to meet you. And by the way, we're going to wipe away a bunch of this stuff, and you're going to start from square one. And that involves getting up in the morning, saying 10 things you're grateful for. Calm your system down. Learn about the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Understand what self-talk is for you. Begin a medication that's going to help you with anxiety. Understand what meditation is. What is meditation for? How do you meditate? What calms you? How do you know that you're going off the rails? How do you get back on the rails? What is your foundation? And that's taken me to a lot of different areas of study. But I forget your initial question now. See, this happens.
I got you. What do you do in the calm? And I think you're trying to get at your foundation that you've had to create.
Yes.
Yep.
So it is, I am constantly monitoring me. There is the never forget there was me, and then there was the girl under here. Even on my worst day, even in the ER, she was here. So how do you constantly, daily, tap into that? Just like we would doing CPR, just like we would doing the nerve work, you tap into the mechanoreceptors to wake the system up. How am I going to tap into that every day to make sure I'm still connected here to here, here to here? Who am I? What am I doing here? And how do I then take this thing, that what I thought was my curse, and then how do I take it out and help other people that struggle with the same thing?
Side question.
Sidebar. Sidebar.
Have you done strength finders?
No, but I'm about to. I think.
It's just, okay, so this is a new tool I've learned about, and it's interesting the way you talk about recognizing what your strengths are, because you clearly talk to how you like to achieve, and you are an achiever, and that is a strength of yours. Yeah. But, the big but, I am the same way.
The big but.
Because they cannot lie.
Yes, I'm 12.
When we don't know what our strengths are and we are not in tune to those, there is no way that we can be aware of what our blind spots are within those strengths. And you just spoke to it just so clearly. And I think that's one of the bigger things, that if we can learn those types of things as young professionals, you are less likely to be getting eaten alive by your profession, your whatever your strengths are,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Or your job or your career too. But
Yeah.
I just think it's really interesting that you talk to some of that stuff, because I just read the book this morning.
Everything connects.
Took the test
Everything connects.
yesterday, and I'm an achiever too. But it's also,
Shocker.
well, for those of us that have the strength of achieving, we can get lost if we
Yep.
don't know how to say no. We
Yep.
can get lost if we don't know how to ask other people in to come alongside us and to come
Mm-hmm.
help us and come, be a part of a project.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get lost if we don't slow down to also appreciate things outside of like whatever it is big that we're trying to achieve. And I know
Yeah.
that you and I have both been more so in the career profession
Yeah.
section of life, but I don't know. It's just interesting how you're talking about that stuff, because the language is very similar. I can't remember the guy who wrote it. Whatever, it
But
doesn't
it's
matter.
true.
Yeah.
And you talked about it earlier, but I think it happens a lot especially in the medical field, and I can speak to that best because obviously we're in the medical field.
Yeah.
But there is so much pressure around performance, and there's so much pressure not just around performance, but around you are here for someone else. Your
Mm-hmm.
job is to
Right.
fix this person.
Yeah.
So you better be able to fix this person.
Yeah.
And then that shifts the entire focus to that person. I
Right.
fix that person.
Right.
And we are great. As a matter of fact, I talked about this with my mentor this morning. We are great at being chameleons and fitting in the
Mm-hmm.
moment. Okay, you have a patient that is a high D on the performance indicator personality test. You haven't tested them, but you just know because you are aware of it, or the disc profile, whatever you're comfortable with. How do you in the moment expect them to act, and then how do you curtail your treatment, your patient education to fit that? You don't realize it until I don't know why it didn't work. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. You don't realize it until.
Okay. I for some reason I got a call and I shouldn't have gotten a call. Um,
Oh.
you don't realize it until you have to speak it. Kind of like having a student. Like, I didn't realize all this stuff went through my head until I have to articulate it to you. And now I'm like, dang, I'm impressed with myself that I just naturally know all this stuff. We naturally conform to the patients that we have to make them comfortable in the space.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens and you know that it's happening, and there's the you that's working, and then there's the you underneath it that can tap back in, that's fine. That is a skill. For me, that was the only one I knew. And it was chameleon, 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 chameleon. Who goes home at the end of the night? What do you do when you don't get away from that? Like,
Right.
that's my concern
Yeah.
for a
That
lot of
is
clinicians.
that is a really weird lesson that's being
Yeah.
taught out there. So it's funny that you use the word chameleon, because my very first mentor out of undergrad, I worked at a PT clinic for a lot of years while I was working on more prereqs.
What?
Because a
Which
bachelor's
prereqs were
degree in
we
athletic training wasn't enough.
do?
That was like his magic sauce, was that he was all about being a chameleon, and his patients loved him.
Mm-hmm.
That guy could change. Hi, Loris.
Hey, what's up, Chris?
I just saw a little emoji.
Mm-hmm. Can you see
Um,
the comments?
yeah, I can.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I think I haven't been paying attention all the time, but I can see them. So anyways, he talked about being a chameleon. Like, he talked to all of us about how important that was and how vital that was to, adjust and change and be adaptable. And man, I learned that very, very early on. And I'm telling you, I thought that that was the secret sauce until probably about a year or two ago, when I
Yeah.
realized, like, it was bleeding into my personal life. So I think that's where, like,
Oh,
you were talking earlier
yes.
about, like, you lost your profession and your person, and you had to bring those two things together. I was in this like philosophy that I had to be adaptable no matter where I was, no matter who I was with. And so I was always conforming to the situation I was in or who I was talking to and where I was at. And was it high stress? Or did you notice, like, if you had a patient that was really high energy, you'd bring yourself up? If you had
Hmm.
like a really sad, like, person, or they were really in a lot of pain or depressed, like, you bring yourself down.
Yeah.
And we're not taught to just have some sort of like even keel, consistent, or just be you,
Yes.
part to your practice. And so
Yes.
I have like family and friends that could tell you all kinds of stories about how I just tend to conform to wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing. And that's kind of a little bit of my personality to begin with.
Hmm.
I'm the fourth of five kids in my family. And so I, growing up, was kind of the person that was like, yeah, you can have the window seat. I'll take the middle bench seat in the car, right? Like, I just
Hmm.
was always kind of conforming and adapting to the situation to make sure that people around me were happy.
Oh, so good.
And so
It's so good
it's
because it's
crazy
so true.
how, like, at the same time it's a strength, at the same time it's part of my personhood, at the same time I want that to be a part of my profession, how all of those things can bleed, and bleed in a bad way, into just like toxic parts of how you're living and how your friendships are and how your
Hmm.
priorities are and how your relationships are. And I think that that for me was part of my burnout. Was
Hmm.
I was tired of having to conform every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I felt like a schizophrenia by the end of the day.
Hmm.
And then you're
Yeah.
right, like, you go home with all of this, like, you take on all of these people's pain and problems and personalities and energy. And no one really teaches you how to separate yourself from what you do at work. Because I don't know
Hmm.
about you, but a lot of times I'd go home and I'd keep working.
Hmm. You do when you're single. There are the
Yeah.
therapists. Yeah. There are the therapists that I've known, and I don't want to completely parallel this, but there's a lot of people that happen to. I was married before I got into PT school, or I found the person I want to spend the rest of my life with early on, and then life becomes the priority. And I typically see those people presenting a little more balanced in a way. Um, but I think there's a certain, in certain ways, in other ways, maybe not. But as it pertains to the profession, if you don't, and if you're constantly head down, this is what I know I want to do, you can't get in my way. This is, I need to go to this school. I need to finish my clinicals. I can't be tied down yet. And then you start practicing, you've wrapped yourself around this profession and this being this chameleon. And it turns you, because I can personally speak to my relationships. A few of them have ended because I got bored, because the real me was bored to tears and never fit with this person. The chameleon me could make any situation work, and that's how the relationship started. So it's like, if we don't think that our personalities need to if we don't recognize there's more than one of us, and to nurture different aspects of ourselves, um, I think that that can be a significant hindrance in one or more ways. Just like we say, body, mind, spirit, everything affects everything. My physical restrictions in my body. Yep. And this can do the same thing. Like, it bleeds, just like you said, the perfect term. It bleeds into who you are
Everything.
and into your personal life, right?
Okay, so how are you going to be committed to
Uh
doing
oh.
doing something different? I'm trying to figure out how to ask my question because we haven't talked about this.
Uh
How are you committed to doing that differently now, and especially in this new space you're in, and this
yeah.
new You're in a very different environment than the one that you're coming from. So, how do you do that now? And did you practice it prior to now? So, like, did you work on that skill in the last year, 2, 3 years? Because I
Hmm.
never got the hang of that.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's a good question. Um, I have learned that the best me is just me. Like what you had said, or you can just be yourself, or you can just show up and be yourself and not be a chameleon and let the awkward conversations happen and let the people that drain you and not match them. Or you can do that. Um, I started to take a hold of that. I'm still working on that because I very much am a chameleon, and that's what I try to do when I start a session with someone is meet them where they're at and make them comfortable. But because of the people that I see now and the nature of which they're coming to me, I want to influence that energy, and I want to typically, I'm trying to instill a sense of calm, or get to a deeper place with people. And so it is almost, this is kind of a bad way to put it, but it's almost meet them where they're at and then bring them to where I'm at. Not necessarily manipulate their energy, but to find them and then find myself and then match it. Like, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that is how I found myself practicing within the last year or so, or even mentoring, going into clinics. It was, what is this person, how does this person think? What kind of con ed have they done? Learn about it, and then come in and find the balance, find where what you know, what you do aligns with what they know, connect the bridge, move from there. Like, very similar. And that's what I've learned in the last couple of years. I'm still a work in progress. Like
Yeah.
everything is, and especially working in the energetic, emotional world, there's more there's more volatility to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I really have to know, who am I? What is mine? What is theirs? How do I control, separate the two? How do I
Right.
see what's theirs? So for a long time, anxiety, by the way, can present as, oh, I'm an empath. I pick up everybody's energies everywhere I go. So I feel really anxious. No, I don't feel anxious. This person actually has a lot going on, and I'm picking up their energy. People see that, they can understand that. A lot of people, especially in healthcare, like you pick it up really quickly that someone is off. Um, and so being able to do that, but then being able to flip the script and say, okay, I picked it up. This is mine. This is not, or this is yours. This is not mine. And thereby calming myself. I am still who I was when I meditated this morning. I can still get back to that. I can do that without being in my closet with my eyes closed, which is how I meditate every morning. I can do that without it. I can do it here and just bring myself down. And then I can get a sense of what's the difference between you and I, and work from there to influence their system. Um, if that answers your question, I tend to go on tangent.
No, I think it's fantastic because it's not really something that we learn how to do.
No.
It's not really something that's talked about. And like when I keep thinking about all the things that have been building up inside of me over the last decade, I never had very good boundaries of
Yeah.
that. And I think because of my personality, I mean, I was done treating patients over a year ago, and I don't miss it at all, really. And I think it's because of a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons being just that. Like, I fully recognize today that I didn't know how to separate all of
Mm-hmm.
that. And I had so much anxiety, and I have so much empathy for the people that I couldn't help. And I knew how to refer and all of those things. I mean, that was part of my ability to give them something.
Hmm.
Or you hear people's stories, and it's just
Hmm.
like, oh, I can't just go home for the day and cry. Like,
Ooh,
I can't
yeah,
handle this. Like, it's so much. And so, when you're a very emotional driven person, and when you're very empathetic, and you're very like aware of yourself and your personhood and your soul and your spirit, like I think both you and I are, being in this kind of profession can really drag you down quick. And it
yep.
can present in different ways, right? It can
Hmm.
present in calling out sick more regularly, or like not performing as high as maybe your supervisors want you to, or maybe it's trying to seek something else that doesn't really make sense for you, but like you're constantly trying to kind of drive yourself in all of these different directions. And so
Hmm.
I never really took the time to fully understand why that's so important. And I didn't really talk about that stuff with my colleagues too much either, to
Right.
be honest.
No, it's not
And
something we talk about.
I don't listen to every single little story in Con Ed, but I don't really remember that being talked about much either. And
Hmm.
like strategies, like how to's. So I think it's
Yeah.
important to hear how you're doing a lot of work outside of your work to make sure that you're not getting lost in it.
Yeah.
And it's a really beautiful thing to see
Thank
and to
you.
understand about you, because you have so much passion for the profession still. And I think it's important that whether you're a year out or you're in school or you're 10 years out, I have to learn how to do this no matter what I'm doing in
Yeah.
work, right? Moving forward. Like it's a pattern and it's a routine now for me. So I have to figure out how to break that routine and say, no,
Yeah.
like, so it's just interesting to hear about your tools,
Yeah.
and how you're making sure that there's some sort of ability to bring yourself to a space where you're not taking on everybody's energy, because
Right.
that's
Exhausting,
it's well, it's not
but
sustainable either.
it is not sustainable. I learned that the hard way. But it's my curse turned into my gift. What I thought was something I needed to fix, fix, fix all of the time actually is, oh, no, 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 no. Embrace this. Get curious about it. Other people deal with this. Learn about it. Now help them. Like this is your gift. And the more studying I've done, I've learned in countless traditions forever, it's the sensitive people, like that are the sages, the mystics, the spiritual people, because people assumed that they were closer to the divine because you're more sensitive and
Mm-hmm.
because you're up and down, um, or it was you're a witch or something else. Like there's always been a separation. These people are different in a way. Never more now is it. No, actually, I think my intuition, my sensitivity, my anxiety, whatever, highly correlates with my gift and my ability to read people, um, and my ability to influence people in what I do and outside of what I do as well. But yeah, so for you,
Uh-oh.
for you,
I feel a ping pong.
same question for you because you're in a different position. How do you keep yourself grounded? How do you, if you're jumping and saying, I don't want to treat people anymore. I don't want to be a physical therapist right now, which is
Yeah.
very valid, and that's fine. I would assume that rocks the boat a little bit.
Well, yeah.
Um, so what are you doing to ground yourself and move yourself forward?
Well, good question.
I love it.
It's just fun. This is just funny. This is fun.
It is, isn't it?
Okay, well, a couple things. I've always tried to have a mentor in my life. and a couple, to be honest.
Hmm.
I like having a professional mentor. I also like having some mentors that think differently than I do and
Yeah.
know nothing about physical therapy
Yeah.
and are 30 years older than me, 40 years older than me, to always have some level of like wisdom outside of just how I see the world and how I see things are.
Hmm.
And so I keep my mentors really close. And I, like I said, I have different kind of people for different parts of my life, to help me stay grounded.
Hmm.
So I can continue to work regularly with my professional, like career development mentor,
Hmm.
so that I don't get too lost, because I've noticed that it's very easy to trail off and just be like, I'm just going to be retired and camp and travel.
Camp. Retired and camp. Yeah.
And
Oh, wait, money.
oh, wait, money. That bank account's not going to last forever.
No, it does not.
Um, so I continue to meet with her on a regular basis to help me work through the things that I'm curious about outside of physical therapy, to really engage, just my knowledge about where I'm at, what I'm interested in. And the word curious comes up a lot with the two of us in our conversation.
Hmm.
And I really enjoy that word because you see it a lot, not just in like psychology platforms, but writers, and authors, same thing. My brain's going to
Hey,
mush.
hey, man. They might be
um,
different.
there's this like sense of curiosity and creativity around it that I feel very empowered to have right now, which I've
Sure.
never really, really been in tuned with. And that recently has been grounding me to realize I don't need to run off to just go get a job, and be unhappy for the next decade of my life. Like, maybe I go get this job because I need some money, but I'm still working on this creativity path and this curiosity path.
Yeah.
So that's been a really big thing for me, is to keep working with people like that. And then also just talking and meeting regularly with, I have some adult, they're all women, so adult women that I know just from childhood and upbringing and all these
Hmm.
things, that they've lived a very different life. I mean, I have a lady who is going to be 80 years old next year that I talk with regularly, born and raised in Germany. And so having her perspective on the world and life and what's important and what's not. I'm going to tell you right now, that lady regularly tells me, Rachel, drink as much wine as you want, as much champagne as you want, and go live your life and have fun. You're young.
Guess what? It's all gonna work out.
Well, and that's like her perspective, right? Like, it's all going to
Hmm.
come to a place where it's going to be fine. And don't overanalyze. Like, you're over analyzing everything. Like, keep it simple, have fun with it. You know, what makes you happy, what brings you joy, what makes you smile. And so she has like a very different outlook on it in that way, right?
Yeah.
um I've been doing a lot of reading as well. So I am really, really blessed right now to have an older brother that is going through this path as well, in a little bit of a different way. But he
I didn't
has
know that.
recommended some really awesome books to me. So going through those books and really understanding everything from like what life was like as a child, you know, living back with my parents, I have really learned a lot about who I am today and why. And it
Hmm.
has been a phenomenal lesson. I know a lot of people out there who are 40 or older or younger, I don't know, whatever, haven't been home for a long time, could never
Hmm.
imagine doing something like that. And I was very scared to do this myself. But coming back home and spending time with my parents and being around my siblings and being around family more regularly, holy crap, like I'm learning so much about, oh, that's why I am that way. And like, do I like that about myself or not about myself? And how can I adjust that so that
Oh
this
man, I love
is,
it.
oh, it's great. It's been mind blowing. I feel like I'm in this like little human experience or experiment all the time,
Yeah.
because I have some really great people in my life that are very honest with me and very truthful with me. So that's helping to keep me grounded. Like I said, reading lots of books, listening to lots of podcasts, and I mean, I'm just gonna do a little shout out. This book, this
Heck yeah.
book changed my
Highly
life.
recommended. Highly, highly, highly recommended.
And this
Yes.
one is becoming my next favorite.
Yep. Yep. I did the same thing.
Nice.
This one is my current one.
It's backwards. How do we not get it to be backwards?
It says everything is spiritual.
Oh.
Rob Bell.
Mom, did you
And
want to say hi?
then
My
The Big
mom's.
Leap.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that book too.
Yeah.
I don't have it. That's why. It's in storage.
But constantly you make a point, like constantly pushing yourself, learning, understanding who you are and what you like to do and what feeds you, what sucks your energy. How do you balance out those two? How can you use strategies to, I don't like to go shopping, but I really like to listen to music. What if I listen to music while I'm shopping? As easy as that. Like, make the things you don't enjoy more enjoyable by virtue of using something that you enjoy. Kim just taught me that. Kim Rondino.
Oh.
Professional mentor extraordinaire. Kim Rondino.
Extraordinaire.
Yep.
I like the song.
You like
Yeah.
that? A little to it.
I mean, I don't mean to be redundant, but like, do you feel like there's anything that you can add to like the what's keeping you grounded and just like moving you forward and helping you not like get sucked into the earth of the fear and the anxiety and the scariness that presents?
Mm.
You've talked about meditation.
I self-talk is
Ah,
huge. Self-talk can be negative, self-talk can be positive. And self-talk negative can lead you to a very disastrous and dangerous path. And self-talk positive can calm you down. And so I have several mantras that I will say to my poor brain that gets fuzzy and confused and anxious sometimes that tend to work. And so I will say them like it's something I use with my patients too. You are safe. You are safe. Just to hear that or to have someone enter into your experience and observe it with you. I see you. You're safe. It's okay. Like, hugely beneficial just for me, but then hugely beneficial as an actual treatment. Because what I was going to say earlier when we were talking about this is they've proven in quantum physics, observation changes a particle's motion. And I don't think that changes as a particle turns into an atom to a molecule to a person. That doesn't change. Observation changes things. And we get to observe people's pain all the time as physical therapists. We get to observe people's experience as friends. We get to observe life as it's happening right now. And just attending, validating someone has the ability to change things. And so I would preach all of the time in my former job the importance of being present. And I'm sure people are like, yeah, be present, be in the moment. No. It's powerful.
it
You're
is.
changing things because you're there.
Right.
You're literally there.
Right.
That changes things at a particle level, at an energetic level. And you can use that, by the way, in your treatment. So that's been huge for me. Oh, it's telling me I have 2 minutes remaining. I didn't know if there was going to be a
We only get to
Mm,
talk for an hour.
I guess we get an hour. Well,
Well,
I am,
what do you want to wrap up with?
I'm really, I was just ecstatic to bring the stuff that you and I talk about all the time. I